Now, the deep state, their event, their pandemic, where they're pushing this fear, this panic, this chaos, is falling apart rapidly. And the Patriots are preparing for the next 2 weeks a mission like we've never seen before. Trump continually comes out and tells us that the next 2 weeks are going to be horrific, especially this week coming up. We're going to see a lot of deaths. Now, there were citizen journalists, and I have this on my Twitter page. It's Twitter/X22Report. If you go there, or you can come to the x22report.com site and look down the right-hand side, you'll see the Twitter feeds there. Or if you're on the mobile version, just go all the way to the bottom. You'll see the Twitter feeds there. I have this citizen journalist that has gone to many different hospitals, and they're completely empty. All the ones where they say it's like a war zone, there's like nobody there. I do believe this chaos, this fear, this panic has been manufactured by the mainstream media, the deep state players. I think at this point, we're all starting to realize this, and the people are now waking up to the fact that, wow, how come we don't see all these people at the hospitals? Now, Trump is talking about death. A lot of death. We're going to see it. It's going to be a horrific 2 weeks. He's not talking about COVID-19. He's talking about others. Now, remember, he mentioned suicides, and now he's mentioning death. And we'll have to see how this all plays out. But we're going to go through all of this a little bit later in this report and what I believe is happening right now. And I'm going to follow the indicators. Remember, we're interpreting the plan that Q has laid out, trying to match up the time frame of when this is going to happen. We're not predicting anything. We're not saying it's happening where they're rescuing children right now and we're seeing children. We're not saying any of this. Actually, there's been no evidence of this as of yet. We're saying we're interpreting what is happening with Q and the plan. And there's a lot of evidence now that is pointing to what we think is happening, but we'll discuss this in a little bit. Now, what's very interesting is that Trump went ahead and he decided to fire ICIG Atkinson because he can no longer be trusted. Remember, this is the guy that changed the form, the whistleblower form, to allow hearsay. And this is what they used to go after Trump. Now, the mainstream media, they're freaking out about this because, remember, they're watching their entire intelligence apparatus being dismantled and ripped apart. Everything that they put together, and they're going to be exposed. And the conservative treehouse notes that Atkinson was identified in the most recent FISA abuse report by the Department of Justice, I.G. Horowitz, as one of the individuals who was involved in FISA abuse, and this provides Trump cover for firing Atkinson. Now, Schiff, which we know he's behind a lot of this, hiding the whistleblower, maybe he's the whistleblower, we don't know. Trump has alluded to this, but Schiff, he is now panicking. This is what he tweeted out. Trump's dead-of-night decision to fire ICIG Michael Atkinson is another blatant attempt to put the independence of the intelligence community and retaliate against those who dare to expose presidential wrongdoing. It puts our country and national security at even greater risk. Well, didn't you try to impeach him? You didn't succeed. And now we're starting to understand that Atkinson is connected to Schiff's impeachment sham, and his wife is connected to Fusion GPS, the Russian collusion sham. It's all connected. And the mainstream media, the Ds, all the intelligence players, they are freaking out about it. Look at John Brennan. One more example of Trump removing those who seek to stop his lawlessness. All Americans fed up with Trump's incompetence, venality, and narcissism have the opportunity to fire him in November, the most important election of our lifetime. So what are they trying to do here? With this event, and you can see it, they're continually pushing voter mail-in. Voter mail-in. Why? Because it can be manipulated. They know they have no other way at this point in manipulating the election. Trump, the Patriots, they have blocked every entrance, every exit. They've been blocked out. They can't maneuver anymore, and they're worried. And to take the place of Atkinson, we have Thomas Monheim. He has been named the acting IC Inspector General. His career as an intelligence professional, he's a retired colonel from the U.S. Air Force Reserves who has served our nation in a wide variety of roles throughout his distinguished career. So they already have a replacement. There's an acting IC Inspector General, and we know that temps are very important. Optics are very important. And this is why they're getting so worried. I'm talking about Schiff, Brennan, and the rest. As they see everything being dismantled, we have this FISA problem. Remember, the judge has given the FBI until June 15th to determine if 29 flawed warrant applications contain material errors. And if they don't produce the information, these FISA warrants are going to be null and void. They're going to be invalidated, which means everything that they've done up to this point is going to be null and void, even the impeachment. And this is what they're worried about. They're panicking right now because Trump, the Patriots, they've been ripping this apart slowly but surely. It's almost like taking a Band-Aid and slowly ripping it, and the hair is coming off. And each time they pull it, there's more and more pain. That is what they are feeling right now. And then if you take this a step further, who do you have? You have Flynn and Sidney Powell. She is pushing and pushing and pushing. The Department of Justice under the Mueller team, they're asking for another delay. Why? Because they're trying to figure out what to do. They're trying to say, okay, we're stuck here. We're trying to figure out which direction we need to go in. Well, sooner or later, they're going to be screwed. Because think about the FISA warrants. Think about null and void. Think about everything they have. It's been a gigantic lie. Then we have FBI Director Wray. We know in a past Q post, it says sleeper agents, future marker, and Representative Jim Jordan, he's questioning FBI Director Wray's commitment to cleaning up the Bureau's faults. So will Wray be activated at this point? We'll have to wait and see. Now, very interesting, while all this is going on, Trump decided to sign an executive order. This executive order establishes the Committee for the Assessment of Foreign Participation in the United States Telecommunications Services sector. This is far bigger than Huawei. And with this executive order, members of the committee include Secretary of Defense, Attorney General, Secretary of Homeland Security, and many others. And what this says is, by the order vested in me as President by the Constitution and laws of the United States of America, including Section 301 of Title III, United States Code, I hereby order as follows. The security, integrity, and availability of United States telecommunications networks are vital to United States national security and law enforcement interests. Now, of course, there's a lot more there, but you can see he's already planning to rout out all those individuals that have been controlling the telecommunications sector. Now, very interestingly, we know the deep state, they are pushing their agenda for mail-in ballots. Hillary Clinton is continually tweeting out. Eric Holder is continually tweeting out. We see many individuals continually tweeting out. And Hillary just tweeted out once again, and it says, states must take concrete steps now to make sure every citizen can be heard in November, no matter where we are by then in fighting the COVID-19 pandemic. And she's talking about mail-in ballots. Now, what's very interesting, during the presser, a reporter asked him a question, and it went like this. Do you think every state in this country should be prepared for mail-in voting? This is what Trump said. No, because I think a lot of people cheat. I think people should vote with voter ID. The reason they don't want voter ID is because they intend to cheat. He is just now calling them out on it. Remember, he's blocked everything else for them. Illegals are not coming into the country. He's removed a lot of illegals, and they can't manipulate the popular vote right now. And this is their problem. This is how they cheat. Let's go back to post 2610. And Anon says, and this is December 2018, will voter fraud be exposed before January? Q says no. 2019 push voter ID based on verifiable intel fraud. 2020 plus safeguarded. So they've already planned for this. They already knew this was coming. And now Trump is starting the narrative of voter ID right on schedule. And like I said, the illegals are no longer coming into the country. Washington Examiner tweeted this out. Illegal border crossings are at a standstill as the coronavirus pandemic rages on within the U.S. CBP only dealt with 80 people, a drop in the bucket compared to 30,000 arrest agents made during February. So that whole thing has come to a complete standstill. So their plan for this pandemic to cause fear, chaos, and everything else, it is backfiring on them. Think about it. When you know the player's playbook, what can you do? You can prepare for all of this. So let's talk about the Patriots' plan here and what's going on, and then try to sync it up to Q's post so we can understand what is going on here. First, let's talk about the ship, the cruise ship, that no one wanted to touch because of COVID-19. And there were thousands of passengers and crew members on this ship, and no country wanted to take it. And this voyage that began March 5th in Chile was supposed to finish March 19th in Argentina, but it ran for days as countries declined to welcome passengers ashore during the pandemic. And Trump, what he did is he took the ship in. Why? That's very interesting. Then we know that during this pandemic, Trump, we had Secretary Pompeo, they're telling everyone to come home because they're going to be shutting everything down. Why? Because there's a major operation coming up. Trump has told us this next 2 weeks are going to be very rough. Sarah Carter tweeted this out. @RealDonaldTrump. Finally, I can report that as of today, the State Department has successfully coordinated the safe return of more than 40,000 Americans stuck abroad on over 400 flights from 75 countries. Great news for Americans overseas. So they've been bringing tons of people back to this country. And if you notice, Trump is pushing hydroxychloroquine. Actually, he's ordering hydroxychloroquine. Why? Because he's preparing and ready to bring this to an end. How do you get rid of fear, panic, chaos? You introduce a cure. Very soon, during probably not this week, but maybe next week, that will be approved by the FDA. It will be completely out there. Now, remember, the deep state players, they don't want this as a cure. They've been trying to hide this, and they're trying to say, it's not really a cure. Look at what the states have done, certain governors, where they tried to say, you know what, we don't want this distributed. Actually, we also have to remember is that during this whole thing, Trump never locked down the country. He left it up to the states. Look at which states are locking down their society against the Constitution. He did this on purpose. He wanted this exposed. These individuals that have no problem arresting and locking down their state, completely against the Constitution. Yes, the Founding Fathers knew about pandemics. They knew about disease. And if they were concerned about that, they would put it all over the Constitution. But they didn't for a reason. Because they knew that dictators would use this against the people. And that's why they kept the freedom open. This is why they didn't say, oh, you know what? If this is the case, then the Constitution is null and void. They didn't do that. So Fauci, where Trump is keeping this individual out in front because he's part of the deep state, Fauci is repeatedly out there saying that hydroxychloroquine is not something we should be looking at. Actually, if you go back to 2013, we're going to go back in time a little bit. Fauci at that time, he cheered the use of hydroxychloroquine. He said it appeared effective only in cells and lab dishes in treatment of MERS, different forms of coronavirus. And then if we fast forward to today, he was trying to downplay hydroxychloroquine when we had incredible results with certain doctors. Now, Trump is continually out there letting everyone know that this is going to be the game changer. He already knows this. Actually, other countries right now are using it. The Michigan governor had to do an about face and now is saying, okay, bring in the hydroxychloroquine. This whole vaccine thing, this is a deep state dream. They have been exposed now. And it's funny, Jordan Sather says something funny. I was looking at his Twitter feed. He said, Bill Gates wants to stop this virus when he can't even stop the virus on my PC. That's actually very funny. But anyhow, what's very interesting is that Trump and the Patriots, they are preparing to move forward with this mission. So let's go through this right now. U.S. Northern Command. Under direction of U.S. Northern Command in support of FEMA, approximately 1,000 U.S. Air Force and U.S. Navy medical providers arrive in New York area in the next 3 days to expand local medical capabilities for war on COVID-19. Includes 300 personnel to Javits Center and other locations. Now again, there's nobody in these areas right now. And Trump, during his presser on Saturday, said something very interesting. Take a listen to what he said.
We'll continue to do it as it really gets. This will be probably the toughest week between this week and next week. And there'll be a lot of death, unfortunately, but a lot less death than if this wasn't done. But there will be death.
Now, if you listened, he said this upcoming week is going to be awful. There's going to be a lot of death coming up. Now, who's he talking about? Is he talking about COVID-19 patients? Or is he talking about the suicides? And is he talking about the deep state players where they have an option? I do believe that is what he's talking about. And let's go back 2 years ago, like we've been doing, to April 4th, because a lot of these posts are starting to really fit in. This is April 4th, 2018. This is post 1013. It says Twitter, clowns, Operation Q, T2810C, false drops, bot push, future conspiracy push to norms, bad mix with good, taint, they are scared. Post 1020. Now this one's important here. April 4th, 2018. Used against them. National Guard now active. Refer to old drops, Saudi Arabia, National Guard. The wave. Think about what Saudi Arabia has been doing. They've been arresting many individuals. Post 1024. Now, I threw this one in here because this seems really out of place, but I included it because I think this is very important because Q says coming soon to a theater near you. It says Jared Cohen coming soon to a theater near you. So let's just keep that in the back of our minds. We're going to move to post 1025. And it says, we sincerely appreciative of your kind words and appreciation means more than you know. Each one read in full. We are in this together. Where we go on, we go all. 2018 will be glorious. God bless. Now, since we're reading these posts back in 2018, I'm wondering if Q is actually saying 2020 will be glorious. Because remember, what's going on in 2018 during this time period, I think refers to the future, which is right now. Let's go to post 1026. And it says, peace through strength. Post 1027. POTUS will be up all night. Pray. Watch the news tomorrow, which means today. And Trump already, before his presser, tweeted these two things out, which are very interesting. I'll be having a White House Coronavirus Task Force meeting in a short while. May or may not do a news conference after the meeting, depending on new information. Talks and meetings today are proving promising, but a rough 2 weeks are coming up. Then he tweeted, we are learning much about the invisible enemy. It is tough and smart, but we are tougher and smarter. And remember who the invisible enemy is. It is not COVID-19. They're talking about those people that are behind the curtain, those people that we don't see. Post 1028, 5x5, Q+, and that is April 5th. And then we have post 1029, April 5th. Thank you for your prayers. Force reaction, one of many vehicles. Intercepts, night, with brackets bold 2, birds, fast movers, force projection, April showers. Then we move on to post 1030. Down below it says, coincidence or silent war. Pray, night 2. And then we go to post 1032. Now, with all the Navy ships that are being dispatched right now, I thought this one was pretty important. It says, think Navy ship crashes, bigger than you know. We are active, letting us know that everything is a go. And from Enoch and others, they have confirmed, now that we're seeing all this, is that everything seems to be a go. Now, Saturn Stone decided to put the posts together from April 4th to April 11th. And when you put them all in order, you have night 1, night 2, night 3, day 1, night 4, gap equals Syria, night 5 on April 11th. And we know that Easter is coming up, and we can start to see that Q has been mapping out the mission 2 years ago. And Trump, he tweeted out something very interesting. He said, to all of our youth who are missing the start of their Little League seasons, hang in there. We will get you back out on the fields. And know that you'll be playing baseball soon. Then he continued, "We will get through this together, and bats will be swinging before you know it. In the meantime, take care of mom and dad and know that this will not be forever." Now, what's very interesting where he said, "We will get you back out on the fields." Does this mean they've been held someplace and they're going to get them back outside? And again, we will get through this together. Now, during the presser, Trump, he continually mentioned 1917. Now, we know there was World War I during that period. We also know the swine flu, but the swine flu really didn't come into effect until 1918. So he continually says 1917. Take a listen to what he says about 1917.
And we're going to be adding a tremendous amount of military to help supplement the states. Thousands of soldiers, thousands of medical workers, professionals, nurses, doctors. And it'll be a large number. We'll be telling them over the next very short period where they're going. They're going into war. They're going into a battle that they've never really trained for. Nobody's trained for this. Nobody's seen this. I would say since 1917, which was the greatest of them all. The greatest of this type of battle, probably the greatest of them all, right? 1917.
Now, if you listen to him, he said nobody trained like this since 1917. 1917 is very important. So first I went to the post 1917. Now, this is very interesting. Just at the bottom, it says, "What are shovels used for?" Well, they're used for digging underground. Then, I don't know if anyone saw the show Peaky Blinders. All of a sudden, that popped into my mind. And during this, the individuals in Peaky Blinders, they were in World War I, and they used to dig tunnels under the ground, and they set explosives under the ground. So in 1917, during the First World War, Army engineers attempted to break the stalemate of trench warfare by tunneling under no man's land and laying large quantities of explosives beneath the enemy's trenches. As in siege warfare, tunnel warfare was possible due to the static nature of the fighting. Well, think about it. If they're in tunnels, it would be static and they would be able to go underneath. And we know the armed forces have been training for tunnel warfare. And if you take Trump, what he said about 1917, we haven't trained like this since 1917 to do tunnel warfare. And it's starting to seem like everything is starting to fit together right now. And then we move to Trump's tweet about Palm Sunday. Palm Sunday is the beginning of a holy week for many people of faith and a great day to lift our voices in prayer. I will be tuning into Pastor Greg Laurie at Harvest.org. Now, this is very interesting. He didn't do Harvest.org or .org. He just did Harvest.org. Harvest organs? That's very interesting. So if you just take harvest, that brings us to post 3599. And this is November 2019. This is what it says. The harvest crop has been prepared and soon will be delivered to the public for consumption. A higher loyalty brackets why. Hunters become the hunted. Treason, sedition. How to remove liability. 6 o'clock can be dangerous. Family proud. Now, the why, a lot of people are talking about adrenochrome, which is the why. Now, Q has never mentioned that word, only has given us the why. But a lot of people are putting this together. Now, 6 o'clock can be dangerous. Is this the 6 o'clock news when all of this is going to break? I don't know if that is going to happen right there and then, but it's starting to seem like all these pieces are starting to come together. And what's very interesting is that Trump sent a signal because, remember, he wore a black suit with a pink tie during Easter and he was standing next to a white rabbit. And we know all about white rabbits because of Q's posts. This year, he wore the same exact tie, which tells us to look back to that picture when he was at the White House having Easter. And inevitable E.T. says exact same tie, message received, sir, 5 by 5, letting us know this is their target. So if we start to put all that together, it seems like it all fits. Now, this is very interesting. Dan Scavino Jr. tweeted out New York City, and there's a trumpet player playing the Star Spangled Banner. If we go back to post 3806, it says, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. And above this, it says boomerang. Is this the signal letting us know that everything is going to start tomorrow? And it's starting to feel that way because we have Trump confirming these next 2 weeks are going to be horrific. We're going to see a lot of deaths. He talked about 1917 with tunnel warfare. And we're talking about harvesting the crop. And it seems like all of this is now coming together. And it seems that the mission is a go.